look into the Pasha and into Rabbi's Sichis and then into ourselves. In the Pasha, Yaakov is now going to face Esav. And Esav, he knew, he ran away from Esav. Esav was an enemy, a mortal enemy. And Yaakov had now, it's time to go back and to face Esav. So he sent Malachim to Esav and imploring him that he wants to be his friend. I want to make up with you. Let's forget old animosities and so forth, all the things that Rashi explains. And the Malachim come back to Yaakov and they tell him that this is all a pipe dream. Esav, you know what pipe dream is? Whatever it is, it's a dream. Esav is not ready to make up with you. Esav is coming down towards you with an army of 400 men. And Yaakov is very concerned. And as the Pasuk says, and Rashi explains, that Yaakov had two reactions. One is Vayiro, he was scared, he was afraid for his own welfare and his family's welfare. On the other hand, Vayitzer, he was also disturbed, and it would pain him to think that perhaps he will do harm to others. So he started doing preparations for this meeting. And as the Pasuk relates it and Rashi explains, that Yaakov actually had a three different types of elements that he prepared himself with which to meet this challenge of Esav. One was the doirin, the gift, the matana that he sent to Esav. And the other was tefillah, that he stood in prayer. And the third was milchama. He prepared himself that perhaps he will have to actually wage war. So, in the Chassidus, these three things are explained that these are three things that are related to the three major attributes, three different midos, attributes. This is Chesed, Gvura, and Tiferes. That the doiren, the gift that he was sending, was a means of pacifying him, making him feel friendly with him, through a gift, which is the name of Chesed. He's expressing to him that he is being kind to him, is sending him a huge gift. And as the Pasuk relates, Yaakov instructed all the managers who were in charge of delivering this gift that they should actually explain to Esav that this is a gift for Esav, from Yaakov, because he wants to be your friend, he wants to recognize that he has no animosity towards you, and he wants that hopefully that you will also turn with kindness towards him. This is the approach of Chesed. And the other way, the other thing that he prepared himself with was with tefillah. And he stood up and he prayed and made And he said, as the Torah reads, that he said to Hashem that I'm coming to you with the various promises that you have given to me, although that I may not deserve them, because kontointi, as Rashi says, because you have done all the kindness that you have done to me, makes me very humble, makes me feel that I have gotten much more than I can possibly deserve. Nevertheless, I'm praying to you that you should, in your kindness, that you should save me from my brother Esau, because I'm scared of him. And then there is the third thing, that Yaakov actually prepared himself for Milchama. In last resort, there's a possibility that nothing will happen. That this gift and the tefillah, the prayer, by themselves are not going to be sufficient. And he actually has to stand up and wage war. And for that, he did all kinds of strategic maneuvers, which means he divided the people into two camps. People were able to run away, people were able to fight from different angles, and so forth. It's an interesting thing that these three things that we see that Yaakov went to, with which to face Esau, when Yaakov first came to Choron, and he was going to face Lavan, there also, the Torah relates, but this is more behelem, more subtle, but the Torah relates that what did Yaakov meet up with? First thing, when he came to Choron, he met up with a well, and there were 3 herds. And this explains that these 3 herds, Shleisho Edritzain, this also corresponds to the 3 midas of Chesed, Gvura, and Tiferes.
So who had these 3 herds? Yaakov?
No. They were around. Yaakov had to deal with 3 herds when they were around the well. That this also represents, that was in both instances where Yaakov came to Lavan, Yaakov facing Esau, he has to employ 3 different strategies, 3 different aspects. Of course, we know that by Lavan, he was, whatever he went through, 20 years of hardship, but in the long run, he was blessed with tremendous success. He came out from Lavan with a huge, blessed family and also with huge wealth. Whereas when he went there, he was completely desolate, he was alone. Now, facing Esau, he also is employing, these 3 midas of a Chesed, Gvura, and Tiferes. We know, as we mentioned all the time, particularly for our purposes, everything that we learn in the Torah has a very specific meaning. It tells us what happened with Yaakov and Esau, but that's not the whole story. Everything that happened to Yaakov, particularly in the rivalry between Yaakov and Esau, this is an eternal rivalry that continues on from then till our days. And this is also actually representative also of the rivalry that exists within every person, every Yid. Every Yid, every one of us has a Yaakov, a Nefesh Elokis, and every one of us has an Esau, a Nefesh Abahamis. And there is a face-off between these 2 neshamas, these 2 nefoshes. And there are methods with which we are to face, to lead this challenge, and how we face our own nefesh habahamis, our own Esau. And as Yankiv says right there in the Parsha, Vayira Yankiv was afraid, was scared, lest he gets hurt. But then also, he didn't want to hurt others. Vayetzerle, right? You learned this in Rashi. Vayetzerle, he was very disturbed. He felt pressured. How am I going to go through this without hurting anybody else? This is reflective of the face-off between the nefesh olekis and nefesh habahamis. We definitely want that the nefesh olekis should be victorious. And definitely, for sure, we don't want the nefesh olekis to succumb to the nefesh habahamis. But on the other hand, we want to do it in a manner that the nefesh habahamis also survives, not only survives, and actually contributes, and actually helps us out. We don't want to destroy the nefesh habahamis. We all, I'm sure, over the years, heard and read in the Hayom Yom, where it is related in the name from the Baal Shem Tov. There's a pasuk that says, "Kisirech hamoyesei nacha, roives tachas masoi." That if you'll see a donkey of your enemy, roives tachas masoi, who is lying fell down under his load. A donkey was carrying a huge load, and the load was, and it kind of turned the wrong way, and he lost balance, and he fell over. There's no way the donkey is going to get up on its own. Now you have to unload the load, pick him up, and load him up again. But this is a chamoir, a donkey that belongs to your enemy, belongs to Esav. So you say, let him sit over there, let him be back down with this. It says no. The Torah says that you may have a thought of abstaining, of not helping them. Ozif tazivimi, you should help him. So the Baal Shem Tov teaches. Baal Shem Tov explains the inner meaning of this pasuk. Chamoir refers to the choimer. Choimer means the coarseness of the person's soul, the nefesh habahamis. The behemoth that's in a person. That's chamoir, choimer. Every person has coarseness, has impurities, has tendencies towards worldliness, towards gashmis and so forth. And when a person reflects on this union, that he has this choimer, so he realizes that this choimer, this chamoir is seinacha. He is your enemy. Because he interferes with your learning and davening, with the nefesh olekis. You want to sit and learn, and the chamoir comes, come, let's have another sandwich. Let's go for a sleep. Let's go for wherever it is. Let's sleep, I'm tired. That's usually the tendency of a chamoir. And he's interfering, and you will get upset because you really have to learn. You want to learn. So then, you will refuse. You will not want to deal with this chaymer. You don't want to deal with him. You don't want to acknowledge his presence. What are you going to do? You're going to subdue him. You're going to fast and break him. That's what Hashem said. The tendency will be, the reaction would be, if you're really serious about learning, you would think that your reaction would be, I'm going to go right against him. and I'm going to teach him how to fast and how to not to indulge in his interests and so forth. Eventually, he will lose interest in life altogether. And then I will be free to do whatever I want to do. So Baal Shem Tov says, and touches in the words in the Torah, Ozev Tazer Imoy. You have to work along with him. That this Chomer is take, appears to be your enemy, but really he is not your enemy. Because this is the means by which you can do Torah mitzvahs in this world, by which you can fulfill your mission, your purpose, your shlichus in the world. But the reason why the neshama came into the world is to deal with this chomer, with this chamoir. Not to destroy him, but to elevate him, to refine him. So this is the Torah relates over here with the encounter between Yaakov and Esav. What are the methods with which you can actually deal with this chamoir, with this chomer, and ultimately elevate him and get him to participate in your activities? So there are three things. There's the chesed approach, there's the gvura approach, and then there is the tefillah, the tiferes approach, the racham. The chesed approach is you send him a gift. My doir, and you send a gift to Esav. Now, even though we always say that a person should learn Torah lishma, should learn Torah because it's a mitzvah, because it elevates him, he's fulfilling a Meibash's command, he comes closer to Hashem and so forth. But this chamoir, everybody knows I'm referring to this chamoir, doesn't know how to appreciate this. He doesn't know how to deal with it, doesn't understand what you want from me. Hashem, I only know what a good sandwich tastes like. I know a good bed. I know all kinds of different things. I don't know anything about what you're talking about. So you have to approach him in the right way. You have to make him interested in what you're doing. The Rambam, who discusses everything, every hero, every teaching from the Torah, everything in our Jewish life, he discusses also the principle of how do we bring children who do not appreciate Torah, and appreciate ruchnis, and how do you get them to sit and learn? So again, there are different methods. There's a method where you take a rod and you say, if you don't say this, you get smacked. And the Rambam says, this is not the way. This is not our way. Our way is that we have to get children's interest. We have to get we have to get them interested in this. And we have to understand this is for children, which every one of us needs to prepare to know. But this is for our own children as well, between ourselves, our own child, our own chamoir, that you do not, a human being, even the chamoir, even the animal within us, even the nafesh habahamis that's within us, also has seichel, also has a brain. Except its brain, its seichel, understands different things and then thinks in a different way than Nefesh Elokis. But he also understands, and he can actually reason with him. He can actually argue with him, logically and on a seichel way. And therefore, we don't train the Nefesh Abamis the way we train a dog with a stick. We have to try and get him interested, get him enticed. And one of the ways that we get him enticed is by giving him a gift. This gift, the Rambam explains, varies from stage to stage to stage. A little child, you give him a candy. Exactly, the Rambam says this. That if you give it, say, learn, read, and you'll get a candy. Or a fruit, I don't know exactly what. Then at a more advanced stage, you say, learn, and you will get money. At a more advanced stage, you say, learn, and you will get covet. You'll be announced, you'll be called up to the stage, and everybody will clap. Right? It sounds funny, but it's true. Right? The truth is, I don't know if we should laugh because every person, even at this advanced stage that we are now and responsible for all that, if somebody gives us a good clap in the back and say, you did well, we feel good about it. Right? We don't have to deny that. Because that's one of the ways that we deal with the Nefesh Abamis. This is not the end of the story. This is one of the ways that we deal with Nefesh Abamis. Make him feel good. And that's what the Rambam says. You have different stages. You start with a candy, you go to money, you go to covet. And the same is in every person himself. Ultimately, once a person is an adult and he has to, so to speak, deal with his own Nefesh Abamis. And the Nefesh Abamis, unless you explain to him, he kind of is unaware of anything. He can be distracted easily. He can very easily distracted and waste a day and two and a week and a month. And he doesn't sense that he's losing precious time. He has to prepare himself for life. He has to go and do something, and he's not aware of it. There is that element in us, even as adults, and we have to, from time to time, wake ourselves up and say, "Listen." We have to go with the chesed part, with the good, with the kind. Learn this. This will come you to good stead. It will serve you well. It will serve you well. You'll go for Shabbos, or whatever it is, to the Chabad house. You'll be able to show off. Chazal HaSicha. You'll be able to say something. So saying something in front of a public and repeating a sikha is a mitzvah. It's a wonderful thing. But that's what the Nefesh Elokis. The Nefesh Abamis, maybe you can't tell them it's a wonderful thing. But at the same time, it's something that you'll be appreciated. And you'll feel good about it. So the Nefesh Abamis, we speak both from two sides of the mouth. Nefesh Elokis, we say one thing, but Nefesh Elokis and Nefesh Abamis, we say something else. You'll feel good about it. That's the doirin. And the interesting thing, the most important thing to remember and to understand in this method, this is the method that the Torah describes. So we have to understand that this is the correct, ultimately correct method. Because what happens as a result, when the child, talking from a child begins to read, first he begins to learn the alphabets and the read, and all that is, you give him rewards and give him covet and all that, but eventually he gets into the learning and his mind develops and he becomes interested in the actual learning. because he's already an adult. In that itself, there are many, many different madrigas, many different levels. Whether he is learning purely l'shem shamayim, Torah lishma. Torah lishma is a very high madriga. And Hashem's help, everybody should have a moment in his life that he learns Torah lishma. But most of the time, it's not that. We get some benefit. Yes, it's good, and so forth. All that is a process of growth. And without this process of growth, you can't get to anything. So this is the doirin. Yankov Avinu, the doirin, the gift to Esav. Yankov Avinu gave Esav a gift. And you learn how he prepared this gift. He made herds and made separate distances between them. Not everything at once. There is more where this is coming from. I do this, and if you do more, there's more where this is coming from. There's more where this is coming from. You start from goats, and you go to camels. It's something else already. It's goats, they're running around, but camels, these are the real thing. This is how we deal with our nefesh habahamis. This is the way that we develop. We develop our own appreciation of things. Because we cannot appreciate, we cannot experience anything in this world, in the goof, without the goof participating. Do you understand that? The nefesh habahamis has to participate. He has to in some way agree. Otherwise, we don't understand anything. It's true that the nefesh elokis is the shem shamayim, the altruistic element is definitely the most important thing. But in order to give us a chance to ever experience that, we have to also enlist the participation of nefesh habahamis. And the only way to do that is by giving him his thing, what he appreciates. And this is why it's very important that a person should never downgrade himself. We are not allowed to speak Lashon Hara about others, nor are we permitted to speak Lashon Hara about ourselves. The minute we start speaking about Lashon Hara about ourselves, and we think we're doing a wonderful thing, right? We're not letting ourselves to become a yesh, we're putting ourselves down. We make a big mistake. We don't understand what the plot behind this is. Because the Yetzer Hara has a plot. And the plan behind this is that you are nothing, and whatever you do is worthless, forget about it. And that is not far behind this putting yourself down. We're never allowed to putting ourselves down. We're never allowed to act, to clown. Sometimes Bochrim in Yeshiva clown. We should never allow this. If you want to perform on the Lag B'Omer parade, it's fine. But to make fun of ourselves, you're not allowed to do this. Ayid has to maintain a sense of self-respect. If you maintain self-respect, eventually you grow up to it. While at the same time, of course, we're not fools. We can say that this is the main thing, like the Rambam explains. The candy leads to money, and the money leads to kavod, and kavod leads to really appreciating what you're learning. And showing off that you know how to learn is not the worst thing. It's much better than showing off that you don't know how to learn. Right? I'm a nothing. I don't even know how to learn. That's not part of Avodas Hashem. So this is this prong, the chesed prong. The second prong is the tefillah. Sometimes, as the Alter Rebbe says in Tanya, sometimes the machshava zores, the extraneous thoughts, the improper thoughts, bombard a person very strongly, and he can't free himself. He can't get into davening and learning. Whatever the problems are, I mean, concerns and first concerns about quote unquote what's going to be with me, and after that, the minute you start saying why me with me, the Neshabamis comes with an answer, nothing, and then you fall down. And one has to be able to lift himself out of this and not allow these thoughts to bombard him in a way that they take up his mind, they take up his free thought. Sometimes we have to resort in this aspect. We have to resort to what's called tefillah. The Alter Rebbe says, The Alter Rebbe says in Tanya that occasionally when the Netzer Hara is getting the better of us and doesn't, not Hashem in Avedas, but doesn't let it give us freedom, and doesn't let me get into what I need to do, we close our eyes and I say, Rebbeinu Shalom, help me out of this. It's entirely appropriate. We always have to know that we can always turn to Meibushin and ask for help. And lo and behold, it comes. It comes. You can test it. It works. If you are sincere about it and really want, you see that I did everything, I can't help myself, and that's the Rebbe to help you, it eases the burden. No question about it. This is the second prong. Clearly, this is not something that you are going to rely on, not do anything on your own. You have to make an effort, and a big effort, in every way. But just to ease the burden, and just to get through a certain difficult moment, that you feel that you can't do it on your own, this helps. That's what the Alter Rebbe says in Tanya. And then there is, of course, the third prong, which is the Gvura, which is the Milchama. Huh?
I was wondering, how do you relate the tefillah to Yaakov, like with if he couldn't stop it himself, like the thoughts, then he turned to Hashem with Yaakov and Esau.
Yaakov and Esau.
Yeah.
Yaakov sent him a gift. Yaakov prepared with the Milchama, and I don't know what's going to happen. He's still coming at me. Rebbeinu Shalom, you protect me, you promise me. Right? It's right there. There's an interesting point in today's Pasha. The Rebbe mentions in the Sikha, but actually it's the Rambam. It's an interesting thing. Yaakov, when he came to the preparing for war, so it says that he divided his entire camp in two groups, two machanes. Yaakov was full. I mean, it was a big encampment. A big encampment. You could see just from the gift that he gave to Esau that there was a big encampment. It was a huge entourage. So Yaakov divided this in two camps. And the Pasuk says, and Yaakov said to himself, he said, what was the plan of this? What was the tragedy behind this? If Yosef should come to one of these camps and he would smite it, he would destroy it. So at least the other group, the other camp will believe later will be saved. At least something will be saved. So here comes a question. What makes you so sure that Esau will not, he will take care of one camp, and when he's finished with that, he's going to go to the other? What makes you so sure that if he'll smite one, the other one will come out in safety? It's like, and Rashi says, Al Korchai, for sure that was going to be. What makes you so sure? And to this, the Ramban says, phenomenal thing, and we all have to remember this. Yankee was promised by Hashem that his children will be a nation. This nation cannot possibly be destroyed. You have to understand what happened over there. Yankee had 11 sons. This is the Jewish nation, the entire Jewish nation. It's small, but this is the entire Jewish nation for all times. And at that moment, for that to be destroyed, is, so to speak, practically very simple. Throughout the years, throughout our history, there were all kinds of Esau's, all kinds of Hamans, and Mashmei Hitlers who tried to destroy the Jewish people. And they so to speak, dedicated to this enormous power, enormous resources. Miraculously, the Rebbe helped that it didn't happen. They were not successful, but Hitler, Machshmei, to say that he was not successful does not make you feel any better. I mean, he wrought havoc in the Jewish people, in the Jewish nation. But there was a whole world, and there was a certain part in the world that he didn't reach to, and we finally were remained as a nation. Had he entered Russia, many Polish people saved themselves in Russia. If he entered Russia, there would be nothing left there. God forbid. I mean, it was an unbelievable situation. But here by Yankee, this is it. The whole nation, 11 young kids. And yet Yankee was sure that this is never going to happen, because he knows that is impossible, that the Jewish nation should be destroyed. Doesn't have to make sense, because this impossibility is not something which is a human, a worldly phenomenon. This is a godly phenomenon. And therefore, that he was sure of. I think I mentioned to you that the Rabbi was asked one time in the late 1950s and early 60s. There was what was known as the nuclear race between America and Russia. After the war, the Russians also got a nuclear weapon. And the Russians were a very dangerous lot in those days. And to trust them that they're not going to wage nuclear war they were not trustworthy in any which way. And the only thing was the balance of the only reason that there was no nuclear war, really, in those days, logically, was because America had a superiority over the Russians and nuclear power. So they knew that there was no point of throwing around the nuclear power, because America would wipe them off. But if God forbid that they would develop a weapon superior to the American weapon, that's what the race was constantly using all the smarts and all kinds of different insights, all kinds of different gimmicks to create a more powerful weapon. God forbid, should they succeed in creating a weapon that's superior to the American weapon, the whole world is in danger. There's no question about it. As a matter of fact, I don't know if you're familiar with this part of history. Among the things that there was a rivalry between America and Russia was space exploration. Going into space. Now, space exploration, America is interested in space, but America, generally speaking, is also interested in the welfare of its people. The Russians don't care about that. Russians, they put everything in what's strategically beneficial. And at some point in time, the Russians actually had a superiority in space exploration over America. They shot up a satellite, was known as Sputnik. I don't know if you heard of the Sputnik. And this Sputnik actually revolved around the Earth a few times. And this was something which the whole world was stunned. America, Russians took over space exploration. The truth is, there was nowhere near to what America knew, because America didn't waste it. They put all their arsenal, all their money into shooting this up, and they confused the whole world. In any case, this became a very, very scary thing. That's when America, I remember President Kennedy then, said, we will land on the moon within 10 years. Why was it so important to land on the moon? Because we had to put the Ruskies down. Otherwise, the world begins to shake. And we did it. The time we landed on the moon, the Russians, they gave up the whole thing. There's no match. Oh yeah. So during this period that there was this rivalry between America and Russia, with nuclear rivalry, people were constantly thinking, what is the possibility? I mean, I know in Europe there was a real fear that the Russians will overtake America because they put everything into it. And then the world will be in danger. So this was related to me, I did not hear it directly from the person, but it's a reliable, so someone asked the Rebbe, there's this rivalry between America and Russia on nuclear front, is it possible that there will be a nuclear warfare? Such thing possible. Do you understand what that is? Nuclear warfare? We don't know what it is. A nuclear bomb, they exploded 2 bombs in Japan after the Second World War, at the end of the Second World War. Those 2 bombs are still killing people. It's going back 60 years later. The radiation from these 2 bombs, those 2 bombs were a toy in comparison to bombs that are currently available. You understand? So when someone asked the Rebbe, is it possible there will be nuclear warfare? And the Rebbe responded that you can't predict history, of course. You can't predict history, things change all the time. As a matter of fact, Russia is no longer Russia, and it's no longer Soviet Russia, and now there's not going to be a nuclear war between America and Russia, right? You can't predict history. However, the Rebbe said, you can't rule out that people will not use even this grotesque means of warfare of using nuclear warfare. Because history, on the other hand, has shown that every kind of weapon that human beings developed, they ultimately used. Again, I want to explain to you what that means. Go back 150 years. Not that much. 150 years. There was no such thing as a bomb falling from the sky, from the airport, from the air, from an airplane, a bomb falling from it. Go back 200 years. There was no automatic weapons altogether. Every bullet had to be loaded into a gun, and shoot, and then you have to load it again, and shoot it again. This whole thing that you hold a trigger and gun didn't exist. Go back a little further beyond that, and war was conducted with bow and arrow. Okay? It's plenty horrible. It's plenty horrible. But, it's still, for every, you shoot a bow, you miss 50% time you miss, and the other 50% you hurt somebody. The idea that every arrow, it'll kill somebody is not, it's far-fetched. And then came these guns, and then came the automatic weapons, and then came the airplanes. Nobody ever dreamt that people will use an airplane. Is such a wonderful thing. You can travel, This will become a weapon. Nobody dreamt of that. And then came the lowlight, the terrorists. The airplane itself, with full of human beings, that itself became the bomb. That's totally subhuman. Nobody ever dreamt of that. So this is what the Rabbi said. You can never be sure that human beings will not use a certain weapon because it's too horrifying. You can't be sure. And therefore, we can't rule out that they will not use the nuclear weapon. Can't rule it out. It's possible. So then this person is asking, in that case, the world will be destroyed. If Chas v'Shalom there is such a warfare, then the world will be destroyed. And here the Rebbe gave us our insight in what's going on. The Rebbe said, that is not possible. Not possible to destroy the world. The world is not what we see, that everything in the world is vulnerable. It can be broken, it can be changed. It's not the way we see the world. The world is a godly presence, is a godly creation, and it's maintained by God. And there's no way that it can be destroyed. The same is true regarding the Jewish people. Jewish people are indestructible. And this is why Yankov said, this is no way that it's going to be destroyed. One part can be hurt, the other part will be saved. Al Korche, for sure. So coming back to us in using the Gvura part, using the warfare part, with our own Eisa, with our own Nefesh Abamis. Sometimes, now the Rebbe explains in Tanya, that sometimes it behooves us, sometimes it's necessary. Just like we said, we have to give him, pat him on the back and give him a chance to show up and so forth. Sometimes we have to hit him hard. Sometimes we have to tell the Yetzer Hara how low and disgusting he is, how animalistic he is, how irrational he is. Sometimes it's necessary to actually bang down. This is all in Tanya. And we have to know that when it comes to that warfare element, again, it's going to subdue the nefesh of the Yetzer Hara. It's going to make one feel very, bad and low, but it's not going to destroy. It's not going to destroy. Because he is there for a purpose. He's there for a purpose, and ultimately that purpose will be fulfilled. Yes, indeed, sometimes it is necessary to so to speak, as the Alter Rebbe says, it's necessary to be angry at oneself, at one's Yetzer Hara. Why are you interfering with my life? Why aren't you letting me do what I need to do? And that gives him, that subdues him, that weakens him. But, as I said, yes, one part will be weakened, the other part, it's not going to be destroyed. Afterwards, we collect the pieces, and we start going and doing what we need to do. So, coming back to ourselves and reflecting on each one in our own life, our own effort to grow, to develop, we have to remember, we cannot do it without the Yetzer Hara, without the Nefesh HaBahamis. There's no way. We have to enlist his participation. At the same time, we must not, Chas v'Shalom, succumb and give in to him. We have to enlist his participation by giving him, so to speak, a pat in the back and giving him what he needs, but so that he will participate in doing what we need to do. If he says, no, he says we have to do something that is not really permissible to do, that we stand steadfast, and that we wage war, because there he is trying to destroy us, and we're not going to let it happen. We're not going to let it happen. At that point, we do not, we take, so to speak, the gloves off, and we fight it back. If he wants to get COVID, he wants to get money, he wants to get benefits, so to speak, fine. That will give him. We're not going to jump and say, no, you must do it, l'shem shamayim, otherwise you're no good. It's okay. So yeah, let him use it, let him be a partner in this. In the meantime, as he's participating, as he's learning, it becomes something habitual, it becomes something that we begin to appreciate. And even the Yetzer Hara begins to appreciate a good Tosfos, a good shtickle Gemara, a good shtickle Chassidus. It's okay. And a nice song, it's okay. As long as it's going in that direction. So we have, so to speak, this three-pronged approach. And that, with this three-pronged approach, that's like Yankiv. What happened with Esav at the end? What happened with Esav at the end? Today is the Pasha, I didn't learn it yet, but today is the Pasha. At the end, when Esav finally came to Yankiv, he embraced him. He embraced him. Okay, good. I like your gift, I like your covet, I like all of these things. You can do your thing, I'll do my thing. This is, as the Rambam describes it and explains, this is the healthy path of Avodas Hashem. The Rambam says a very interesting thing. You have to know the Rambam says that the derech haseichel, the intellectual approach to things is what's called the derech hamitzua. It's called the middle way. And the middle way the Rambam describes is very simple. It's almost like the geometric principle. The middle, what is the middle? The middle of a circle, that part, that dot which is equidistant from every point on the circle.
So it's like equidistant.
Equidistant in the same distance from every point. That's what the Rambam says. A mega mitzvah means that it's equally distant from all extremes. The extreme of self-infliction or the extreme of self-indulgence. Should not be indulgence, but nor should be infliction. That's the derech hamitzvah, that's the healthy part, the healthy path. This is not merely giving advice a person that he should feel good about himself. This is the successful path. This is the means by which a person can grow. This is the means by which a person can actually engage and enlist his Yetzer Hara, his Noshon Abamis, in his Avodas Hashem. With this approach, in Emerson Hilf, we will be successful to be both. Be Chassidish Yidden, be Talmidei Chachomim, and also be happy people. Not downtrodden people. Because happiness and joy is a Jewish Chassidish trait. It's a trademark. And the truth is, this is the only way to really be successful in our Jewish life. So, in conclusion, as we always do, we're going to wish ourselves and all us much success and happiness. To learn Torah with diligence and with happiness at the same time.
Thank you.
Tontiv is right. It's it's Yud Kislev, which is a very significant Yontiv, Chassidim. The merit of this day should bring everyone success in learning Chassidus. The Mikkel Rebbe's thing was Chassidus. Enormous pouring out of Chassidus. And this should be bring bracha in each one by everyone, particularly in learning Chassidus, and to understand and appreciate Chassidus. Have a good day, a good evening, and see you tomorrow, Mitzvah Shem.